Hello, you have reached Living Truthfully's answering machine, the #1 truthful answering machine. It's obvious, Amani Maranga and super producer are not in, but before you leave a message I have a burning question to ask. Is it true that there's only 3 things that tell the truth in the world? A child, a drunkard, and yoga pants? Press 1 to ignore my question, press 2 if you are shocked and had no idea what I am talking about. If you know about this truth, haha, please hang up.
Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, welcome to Living Truthfully, the podcast. My name is Amani Maranga. Majina yangu ni Amani wa Maraga. And I'm grateful you're here listening to Living Truthfully, the podcast. How you doing? What's going on in your world? Why is Barry White black? Okay, sorry. I mean, are you safe? Are you COVID free? Has your industry started like rising again? What's going on in your world? Please tell me. Excuse me. That's not COVID. I've just had a samosa and there's a small part of it that's going in the wrong direction. And my guest Izuko now running for his mask, even though we are quite social distancing. That's rude, Joram. So, yeah, my guest today, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to an old friend of mine. Old because he actually is old. But yes, he's my friend. Joram Mwinamo was my first ever housemate when I first moved out of my folks' house. He's the guy who, I moved in with. I don't know why I did that.
I don't know either.
But it was a good time.
Yes,
it was a really good time. He is the founder of Wild International, which is... let me see if I can describe Wild. I'll probably say it wrong, and he's going to be so mad at me. But Wild was this business that was an SME enabler, or enabler of businesses, using training, and I think they would give tools and resources for people, for SMEs to grow in their business. And he did that pretty successfully, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But now, he's still a founder, but no longer the CEO of Wild.
Yes.
He's now running The Sandbox.
Yes, true.
Which is, let me see. What is The Sandbox? Let me find the right words. It's a place where experts collaborate to grow your business. Is that right?
Perfect.
It helps that your website is right in front of me.
But sometimes I actually wait for other people to say it so that I get words to describe it in a way that people will understand.
No, but it's definitely a really good like collab space, and I've seen it. And you have all these different professionals that are first can collaborate to grow their own businesses, but then they also serve clients and grow other businesses. And what I like about Joram is that he's always been a visionary. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please welcome with me the man, Joram Mwinamo. A big tune. What up, Jero?
Yeah, you can imagine me running around in a club, slapping people's high fives and that kind of stuff.
So as you run onto the stage, all right, take your seat. This is a plenary. Joram Mwinamo, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
It's long overdue.
After so many years.
Yeah.
I think me and you have always been in each other's lives. Maybe from the time we were teenagers, actually. Yeah, so... Yeah.
High school.
Yeah,
you were in Patch, I was in MFA.
Yes.
We were in Fortress together.
Yes. Worship team, Manenos,
Fortress leadership.
Leadership.
But you were a year ahead of me.
Yes, I was.
So, for some reason, I looked up to you.
I looked up to you every Sunday on stage.
Because the stage was up there. No, I still look up to you. You've definitely been a visionary and a good friend. And I want to say congratulations on your success, man.
Thank you. It's strange hearing someone call it success, because that's I don't know that it feels like that. Yeah.
But isn't it true that often success doesn't feel like success?
I think especially for the person who's driving the vision, it's rare that you get to the place where you feel, okay, so it's an interesting thing. I think you sit and dream about getting somewhere, and then maybe two things happen. By the time you get there, you've set your sights on a much higher goal. So even what you should have been celebrating as a really big thing, it doesn't feel like a big thing to you.
It pales.
Yeah, in comparison. But also, that feeling that you thought you'd have when you achieve those things is just not there, as in the way you imagined it to be.
Boss, you have summed up life. And you have summed up life so well, your work here is done. You can go home.
Yeah.
It's so true. But but let me tell you why I think you're successful. Because of the first thing that you said, where you set your sights on something and it comes to being.
Yes.
And the fact that you've moved from an idea, from a dream, to an actual thing that can be seen, to a tangible achievement of that dream, of that idea, that is success.
Yes.
That movement is success.
Yes, I agree with you.
At least in my books of success, that movement is success. Whether that venture is successful is a different thing. Altogether. But the movement from a dream to actualizing that dream, that for me is success. And bro, I walked into the sandbox. I saw exactly what you created. I saw you. I saw you start Wild.
Yes.
and you have a successful business with Wild. So, bro, congratulations on your success.
Thank you. I will accept that. Because I think it's very few times that I slow down enough, to think about it as I've achieved some level of success. So thank you. I think we beat down ourselves a lot as entrepreneurs. Where it's almost always about chasing the expanded version of a dream, then looking back and saying, I've actually achieved something. I'll accept that, and thank you.
You're welcome. So how are you doing?
I am good. In an interesting space. It's 1 year after we launched the sandbox. We are actually going to be celebrating 1 year next week on the 25th.
Oh, nice. Are you hosting a gig?
So we're still in COVID times.
Yeah.
So there's very big limitations. Let's talk. Let me see how far my people planning have gone.
We're talking now.
We're talking now.
What do you mean? Let's talk. What does this look like? It's even recorded talk. But anyway, congratulations. 1 year.
But thank you. Yeah, I have a pretty empowered team. So usually when I make decisions, when they're handling something, we get into serious fights.
Send me an email. Give me an email. I'll send them a
You'll
profile.
send. Okay.
They're very frustrated MCs like me. Yeah.
So that I believe that I know you to be one of the best in this.
Family and friends.
Yeah. So we are celebrating 1 year. It's been a very interesting year because several things have happened in that year. We launched on February 27th, and just a month later is when the first lockdown was announced.
Less than a month later.
Less than a month later, actually. Yeah. So here we are. We launched an idea that at the time looked very space-based, very interaction-oriented. And then, a month later, the government says that interaction cannot continue because we were expecting a lot of people to come in, a lot of foot traffic and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But we couldn't. So we had to quickly re-strategize and rethink the value of the sandbox. Maybe just to explain it a little bit, the sandbox brings together like 25 professional services under one roof. They are all experts in their own right. They all run their own independent companies. but we collaborate to serve the customers who come through into the sandbox. So yeah, by Feb last year, I think we had 19 of them. We've grown to 25. We started, then there was lockdown, and I think we thought quickly on our feet. We were one of the few organizations that went online immediately.
You pivoted quickly.
Immediately. It didn't even take a week for us to start putting online content out and telling people that we can do things online. We went back to all clients we were just about to sign a contract with or had signed a contract with, and told them, let's take this thing digital. Let's not stop. Because a lot of people were just like, no, let's see how this thing goes. But I think we had a sense pretty early on that the pandemic could be a long haul thing. So we went online, and I think we did over 100 webinars.
Oh wow!
With different organizations, different crowds, different whatevers. Some of them were paid. Eventually, down the line, once people caught on to it, they started to pay for them. Just from the data we collected from all the sandbox experts, 80% had a revenue increase since joining the sandbox. So that was surprising even for us that during COVID, people did very well. I think it's a testament to the model is unique and it's working very well. I wonder what it would have been if we didn't have that shutdown and people couldn't come through anymore. But yeah, I would say 1 year down the line, the business success has been there. Of course, not everyone, and we're trying to see what to do to fix around that. But my biggest lesson has been around managing stakeholder management, that thing we call stakeholder management. That's a skill that I think I have built significantly because we're talking 25 companies, 25 experts, really good at what they do, very smart individuals, different perspectives, but trying to get them to coalesce around one goal and one direction has not been very easy. That's my biggest lesson. And the third thing is that I've transitioned out of a company I founded from being the CEO, which is wild. My colleague Chris has taken over. In fact, at this time, I'm doing a lot of reflection because we're just about to do the public announcement, although we had been doing private announcements with our clients. So I've had those 3 transitions happen in 1 year, and that has been quite the year.
So how are you doing?
I didn't tell you how I'm doing.
No. I mean, you've said a lot of things about the business.
I thought I was answering a question. So how am I doing? I think I'm doing very good. What are
the parameters you're using?
The parameters of good. My life usually falls into several buckets. So there's a family bucket. Married. This is our 14th year. Wow. We're about to celebrate 14 years to Grace. 4 kids.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. I realized I'm in the upper percentile of people with many children in this world.
You need to hang out with a guy called Okwi. Have you met Okwi? Do you know Okwi?
I do.
He has 4 children. One who's about to turn 18. So
yes.
He has a bit of experience you could use.
So I have a girl turned boy 8 and twins who are 1.5, who very interesting, tiny individuals. So the family bucket, I would say we're doing good. Last year, I attended several things because I decided to go all out on developing myself. I was like, I've been developing other people all these years. I've never sat on the other side myself. So I've always taken coaching and stuff, but this time I signed up for a leadership program and just evaluating the different buckets in my life and how they're going. And I think probably one of my strengths is that once I get clarity about what to do, I don't do it early, I do it immediately. So I remember just evaluating a lot around family and it's the one area I really thank God that things are going good. The kids are healthy. The older kids changed schools, and then a school now they really love. They're enjoying it. My wife joined me in the entrepreneurship journey. Now we have very interesting conversations.
You said she's making flour.
She's selling gluten-free flour.
Gluten-free flour.
Free flour,
You know,
yeah.
that is such a tongue twister for
Gluten-free flour.
people from where I come from. Gluten-free flour.
Gluten-free. And she's also a logistics consultant. So, she's been doing those two. So I would say on the family front, we are good. We have the people who help us with the kids nannies, and are so much like family. Like my babies don't cry when I leave the house to go. They happily wave at me to go away. Because, and for me, that's a sign that they're staying with people they love and they enjoy being with. So I would say things are stable on that front.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. And I really thank God that that's working well. Because for me, when that's stable, then I feel things are good. Even in my marriage, I'm in a really good, interesting space. We keep joking that there's no time we have agreed on as many things as possible as this time. But that's because we have a common project we are doing, which has forced us to get on the same page on very many things, which has been quite good because I would say before that, there was quite some rocky conversations that we had to go through to get to the stage that we are at right now. And this was just, through last year. We had quite some issues to deal with together in the marriage. So I think these things happened concurrently with the programs I was taking that helped me really evaluate. And I'm like, I want these things to end well. So I threw everything possible.
What programs did you take?
There's one called the Leadership Circle by a guy called Benjamin Kamoye and a lady called Rosie Laurie. That just helps you as a leader evaluate whether everything is working out from the workplace to the family to the parenting to yourself. So I picked out certain things that I felt I wasn't investing in enough for things to end well. One, just my marriage in terms of, I think there are certain things I was probably avoiding confronting. Yeah. So I took a lot of time to do that. Just look at, are there unresolved issues that maybe we've been sweeping under the carpet that we just need to surface and deal with once and for all. The largest being how we handle money. My wife and I have very different perspectives of almost everything, which is probably why we ended up together.
Who's the more
one? In fact, it's very interesting because we are doing couples and money now with Kina Pastor. So we've gotten time to evaluate our personalities and how we, treat money. So I think it's less about prudence, because I don't think any of us is
way to answer this question.
Is wasteful, and more about perspective. I am a very high risk taker. That's why I ended up building a business. But I also have a very long perspective on when I invest in something. I'm probably looking 20 years out.
Yeah.
She is more immediate in, can we do something that has impact now? But very detailed in keeping track of records and everything. And now I can articulate this because, we went through an exercise last week where we're looking at what are the strengths we're bringing to this so that we stop fighting. So our different perspective always put us as loggerheads. Because me, when I'm thinking 20-year investment, I'm actually thinking, but how is it helping us tomorrow? How is it helping us pay fees next year?
Yeah, who knows whether we'll be here in 20 years.
Who knows if we'll be here in 20 years. So those are the things that used to make us clash, kabisa, because especially when there's a big project at hand, it just gets difficult to move forward. So we had even just gotten to a place where we're going to split it or whatever. You do this, I do this. Tusisumbuane. In the middle, we make sure the bills are paid. Tusisumbuane beyond that, which is not very ideal. I think it worked in terms of keeping us out of each other's hairs, but I don't know that it worked in resolving the issues around why we were fighting in the first place.
An artificial harmony of sorts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question, maybe to derail you a bit, but related. In your experience, you've built stuff from scratch. You've built Wild from scratch. You've built Sandbox from scratch, and you probably helped. You've helped other people build their businesses from scratch.
Yeah.
So you're a visionary, that is no doubt, and maybe this is why you look at money, from a 20-year perspective, because you're about the big picture. How does how has your family bucket enabled you to achieve these things that you've achieved? And I want to pick up from something you said, like when we were off mic, and you said, once Grace understood your vision for the Sandbox, she became an advocate. So what do you think your family bucket has done in terms of enabling you or supporting you or creating an environment that allows you or pushes you? It could be a negative environment that I'm going to succeed despite all these people think. Is there a correlation between your family bucket and this work that you do so passionately?
Yes, two perspectives on that. One, because I remember there's a time we were having a conversation with some guys somewhere on video, something Joan Korea shot. And I remember getting, you were there. Yeah, you were one of us. I remember getting an epiphany in that conversation that sensible men rarely do things for themselves. They do it for family. So somewhere at the back of my mind, even if it's misguided and you stay away from family the entire time you're doing it, in the man's mind, he's doing it for his family.
Yeah, it's for his kids, it's for legacy.
It's for legacy, it's to make sure they're comfortable and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's been an interesting correlation between my success and the number of children I've had.
The more successful you become, the more children you get.
No, the other way around. The more children I get, the more pressure I have to be successful.
Or maybe you're successful because you have many children. There was a time that was the measure of success. Akona watoto wengi, anafanya is doing very well. It's doing very well.
Yeah, so I don't think I've ever had any doubt in my mind that I'm doing this for my family. And of course, I'm also doing it for myself because I've had a passion, but it's conflating everything in terms of the day I achieve, bits and pieces of this vision as we go ahead. The reward should be enough to take care of my family and maybe at some point more than they ever need. So that in my mind is one. But number two, so my wife has always been employed and usually in very high level positions in corporate, which has its interesting dynamics. I think we should come back here with her to talk about that one in detail.
No, she's not allowed here.
She's not allowed here.
No, she can give her opinion in a letter which you read out.
Snail mail, PO box, private bank.
We will not get it. but I mean, I'm not saying the female opinion is not. It's just that I want to hear your perspective as a guy. We usually say the chicks can go to my neck again.
So anyway, I think her jobs did give some kind of stability because I came with good perks, good medical insurance and stuff.
So there are things you didn't have to worry about.
I couldn't afford
I've
that
experienced that as well.
at that time.
Yeah.
So I think without that kind of stability coming from her being in stable jobs with good perks, I don't know, I think it would have been a lot rougher because I utilized a lot of those things very well. The medical insurance, there's a time I had some medical issues. I don't know if you know that. Life-threatening medical issues.
Not really.
You don't know? Yeah. I was in hospital for a while because I had a blood clot in my lungs.
Are you serious?
Yes.
How are we friends and I don't know this?
I don't know how that bypassed you.
When was this?
So it was in 2014.
I know it was happening in my life.
You know, yeah. So anyway.
Usually the problem is that. But
So,
a year later,
yeah.
I was in a hospital as well.
Yeah.
In ICU for 12 hours.
Oh, really? For what?
High blood pressure.
Okay. Right. Had no idea. So are we even? But yeah, so
Wow.
I'm still on medication until today. It will be a lifelong thing.
It's crazy.
It will be a lifelong thing.
Blood thinners.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good it was caught on time.
Yeah.
That thing usually
Shucks.
takes people out chop. So, yeah, if I didn't have that kind of backing, I don't know how I would have pulled it off, like through such times, because those were sorted pretty well. So I actually see my wife's role as having been a cause of stability. Doesn't mean we didn't. I mean, that entire period we probably fought about the business because
Yeah.
it gets to a point where even the person who's supporting you starts thinking, I've had about this dream for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. When is it coming to pass? And, even she starts doubting, even I start doubting whether this is ever really going to work out and wondering what I signed up for.
Yeah. I hear a certain brand, and I'm calling it a brand because I know this is not all women, it's not all feminists, but a certain brand of feminists who say they don't marry potential.
Yeah.
Go succeed first, then come.
So, because the interesting thing is, like, just before we got married, both of us were working abroad. We were expatriates.
Yeah.
Good salaries, very big jobs wherever we were. And then I came back and jumped from that into running a business, into entrepreneurship. She came back and continued at that high level of the job that she was running. So for me, it was literally building from zero. And that I can say sometimes were extremely dark.
That I get.
Yeah.
That I get, for sure. I've and like I said to you, man, I've experienced it. When my ex-wife and I met, we were both in advertising, but I went into entrepreneurship even just about when we were getting a child. She went and got on a steady job at a financial institution. So we had those perks. We had those, and medical, nini. So I didn't have to worry about that as I was grinding to build an agency that I was building from the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, that agency experienced some success, but eventually, and it wasn't a smooth ride. Not even a smooth ride with her. I mean, one of the fights we had was I didn't feel like she was supporting me, even though she was.
Yeah.
Because she was.
She was, yeah.
But I wanted direct support.
Yes.
Hii ndio mshahara yangu. Hii tutaweka kwa nyumba, hii tunaweka biashara yako.
You know that we are doing a survey on marriage and entrepreneurship with my wife. So
really?
it's the joint project I was talking about.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
And that's the number one thing that comes out.
Is the survey currently going on?
So we locked it. We'll open it up again because we needed to do the analysis without getting the data, muddled up.
Yeah.
But that's the number one thing that's coming out from our analysis, that the entrepreneur spouse, because we did both, whether both are entrepreneurs or one is employed, but the entrepreneur spouse expects two things around support. One, financial, two, moral. And then three, if the spouse has an expertise that can help in the business, they expect it. So number one is okay, and many people do it, but many times it ends up badly.
premium tiers.
Yes. 2 and 3 are manageable.
But let me tell you.
But yeah. And then I was going to say people don't actually understand that dynamic of when you're the man and you're the entrepreneur and then the wife is in a high-flying job. It looks rosy from the outside. But there are many things it does to the man.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in those difficult times.
Yeah.
And you've grown up knowing men are providers.
Balls, none.
Men
nothing.
are, yeah. But then, in this case, there are times when you actually have to depend on your wife.
Yeah. And then you're depending on your wife, and then you have a complaint.
Yeah.
How I will explain using the help of oil.
Yeah. The diagrams.
I want 20K, and I don't like this food.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Is your team performing like a Formula One team? Because it should. It should be high performing and with great precision. After over 13 years of building teams for some of the biggest companies in Kenya and Uganda, I have developed the ultimate team building thought process named Pit Stop. Now, this process will help your team build trust, become innovative, and increase performance. Now, if this sounds like the team you want to work with, even with the challenges brought in by COVID-19, shoot me an email on amanimaranga@gmail.com, and I will work at bringing your team to performing like a Formula One team. And now, back to our story. You're depending on your wife, and then you have a complaint.
Yeah.
How I will explain using the help of oil.
Yeah. The diagrams.
I want 20K, and I don't like this food.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those dynamics were crazy. I remember there are times, now when I look in hindsight, I get it, because it got to a point where my wife had to keep reminding me, dude, I'm on your side. I'm not your enemy. Because I, either based on historical filters or whatever it is, she would say the most innocent thing, but my mind has a cut translator that translates it to say, you're questioning my leadership.
Yeah.
You're questioning my manhood. It would just be something like, did you remember to pay the fees? And I'm like, is it because you don't think I cannot? Like it would turn into that. And maybe she was just asking a simple question. So she would be thoroughly confused in terms of where is all this coming from. And then for me, because of the pressures of not having money and things are not working out in the business very well and all sorts of things, it was a huge avenue for conflict.
Our security as guys, our kahunas, our ability to be the man, somehow are tied to the wallet.
To the wallet, yeah. And whether you perceive what you're doing to be succeeding
or not.
Yeah.
And that it's such a setup for failure because money is an external factor, yet your insecurity is a factor of your growth internally. Does that make sense? So how you view yourself, where you get your self-worth from, your security as a man, your kahunas, should ideally, in an ideal situation, should be there whether you have money or not.
It should. Let me tell you, I have like an internal meter that is aligned to how much money I have and how much money I'm going to have.
Yeah.
Like I intuitively get very anxious based on ongoings because I have a feeling money is going to run out on 15th. Like I don't even have to look at my bank account or my
I understand.
Yeah.
Balance sheet is at the back of your head over here.
And so there's a time I began to ask myself, is my happiness versus anxiety and depression going to be dependent on this swinging income that when I have a lot of it, I'm bawling, I'm throwing rows, I'm confident, I walk with my head up high, but when it swings to the other end, I am
the balls shrink.
Yeah, completely down to zero.
They go back up. Like, we're out.
Yes.
Find us when you get some money. We'll drop.
Yeah, and I remember I had to get to a point in life where I'm like, it can't be dependent on this, because now it's very clear this entrepreneurship journey will always be up and down.
Yeah, it will be a pendulum.
And that's when I started to really question what informed my perception of my self-worth. How did I get to that place where I was so intuitively tied to how much money I had?
But it's how we are set up.
It's how we are wired.
Not wired. I think wiring is different. But I think it's how we are set up.
Mm-hmm.
The setup is everything you hear is about you as a man being a provider. Mm-hmm. So a man is a provider. A man is a provider. A man is a provider. You're not providing. Does this mean I'm not a man? You know, like that. The moment one of those elements is removed, then your manhood, the idea of a man then becomes challenged. Mm-hmm. You know, a man is strong. A man is strong. A man is strong. You get sick. You're no longer strong. Are you not a man anymore?
Yeah.
You know that. So, and that's why you find like our folks, when they get a disease they can't defeat, it kills their morale, especially for the dudes. And I've seen it, where he loses the will to fight anymore. Why? Because that manhood definition has been challenged.
Has been challenged, yeah. Sometimes wiped out completely.
Yeah.
Like where you can't continue to do that which defined you as that man. So
and here's the thing, and maybe I should say this to all the young men, but even some of our age mates who are listening to this. Everyone has an opinion of what a man should be, apart from the man himself.
I don't know. I feel like we should take a break, a song plays or something, and then that's just so deep.
There's so many people who have an opinion about who a man should be, apart from the man who's listening to that opinion. You know, and so everyone is trying to define and shape this man to their suiting.
And then those opinions are very confusing because sometimes they're conflicting. Where
often,
just like you were saying, there's a brand of people nowadays that will not marry potential. So if you're with a person like that, your opinion is defined by the fact that until the day you achieve what she considers reasonable success, you will not be a man in her eyes. And then if you take that definition, you start trying to live up to that. Then you break up. Then what happens? You know,
Also, you know, as a guy, when you achieve that success, you realize, this success is enough for that one, but it's not enough for the second
other.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's more than enough for these other guys over here. So
who worship the ground you walk on, and they think you're everything that they want to be when they grow up. Yeah.
And you know, those, for me, I'm like, dude, define yourself. Okay? Define the kind of man you want to be. The kind of man that you are. What's your character? What's your space in this world? What are you gifted for? Define it and then express that, regardless of whether that fits the opinions of the people around you of what a man should be.
And you know, you and I have listened to a lot of sermons that says first we should be a priest, then we should be a provider, a prophet,
provider,
a protector,
and predict nothing.
And there are all those definitions out there, some which sometimes I really struggle with, because I'm just like, some of these things I'm just not either talented or even interested in. Like protector, I can get a security firm.
No, that one I am.
that one we are different. I will be hiding another bed with my wife when those, anyway. No, but seriously though, there are a lot of definitions that I think one put us under a lot of pressure, because then we put that as a standard, and then if we never achieve them,
and then
you're right.
Protector is let's use protector as an example. Protector doesn't necessarily mean you go out and fight. Okay? Protector could mean you create the system that safeguards your security. Okay? Now, whether you create the system that safeguards your security or you're the guy who is the system that safeguards your security, because the guys who are they are it. Either way, you're both protecting. But dependent on who defined protector for you, the fact that you're hiding in a in a let's call it a bunker. Okay, you have a safe house inside your house. You have a, what do you call those things? You have a safe room inside your house. Now, someone could decide you're a coward because you're not out there fighting.
You're
right?
not living up to their definition.
But that person is not put into consideration that your entire family is safe and you have protected them.
And you've protected them.
Because you foresaw this situation and you created a system to protect it.
But let me throw a spanner. What if your wife is a Navy SEAL whose job is it to come up with that system?
That's a very good question.
You
And
know-
congratulations if your wife is a Navy SEAL. Because, dude, I like a girl in uniform. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think it got to a point for me where I think you said an important word, define for yourself. And try and get as robust a definition as possible. Because I got to a point in my marriage where I'm like, shouldn't the person who's best to do this do it? Even if it may fall. That's why I asked if your wife is a Navy SEAL.
So it's not a role.
She
It's not a
probably
role
has
thing because
better
of,
security information and everything than you.
and training.
So if you start deciding, because I'm the man, I'm the one to decide this, and then you're putting a bunker and she's like, but it's cracked on the wall. It's not,
Ama, your system is based on
Yeah.
fox and knives.
Yeah.
We shall feed the thieves.
Yes. So I'm like, why not let the person who's best at something actually carry it out, because that also brings about the whole question of provision. What if your wife really is the one earning a 700K salo and you're earning 50? Does it mean your manhood needs to be defined as manhood the day it gets to 700? Because I see that pressure for the man to do something to catch up.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's a TED talk. Let me tell you, there's so many guys who are going through that thing of they're dating or they're married to or they're interested in someone who is earning more than they are. And because of just that one difference.
Yeah, it becomes a challenge because
masculinity is
the definition and the repeated stuff you've had is that you should be. And so if you can't, it becomes a problem because you're always trying to be. And I'm like, sometimes, what if your wife is an investment banker or a treasury, dealer, where out of one deal she gets a bonus of 80 milli? How are you ever going?
You're never going to be able to compete.
How many entrepreneurs are able to even get or
you become
employed
a thief.
men? Unless or a politician.
Or a politician.
So,
no, that's the same thing, right? Is there a difference?
Yeah. So for me, the whole trying to match up is absurd. I think it's what you define. I'm not saying that traditional roles or. In fact, one of the things that I say, because I have lived in a country where the women were quite empowered. Before I came back, I was working in Norway, and there are people there who've decided to completely redefine. In fact, their law allows for men to take equal amount of, like, you have 1 year for paternity and maternity leave combined. You can choose between yourselves
who takes
the longer one or not. And so what a lot of people do is, if the wife is the one who's earning more, she'll take 4 months. When her body has healed, she goes back to work, and the husband takes the remaining, 8.
Wow.
Or and they have defined it, but you see, from an African perspective,
mwanaume unakaa nyumbani na watoto umekaliwa na pipi.
So
wow.
Anyway,
okay. I want so many things I want to talk to you about. Let's talk about you. And feel free to dodge this subject entirely if you want to. But you and I have shared a struggle, but differently. A mental health struggle.
Yes.
Mine was depression. And something I still manage and deal with till today.
Yeah.
Yours?
Depression and anxiety.
And anxiety.
Yeah, same. This is the first time I'm going public, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Are you okay? Are you okay with that?
Yeah. I knew it would happen one day, so.
You've been wildly successful while dealing with depression and anxiety, seeing psychiatrists, being on medicine. How do you manage your confidence as a guy? On one hand, projecting all this energy, positive energy towards the stuff that you're building, and on the other hand, dealing with the darkness that comes from a disease. And then, like we've said, all these other now things that are happening that add pressure to that.
Yes.
To that space. Like, dude, how have you navigated this?
Yeah, for context, maybe it would be good to go back to the genesis, which was 2007, post-election violence, which was a month just after I got married. Because we got married in 2007, 1st December. So we had elections.
Oh, really? 1st December? Oh, I got married on the 7th.
Okay.
December. Same year.
Same year?
Yeah.
So, maybe that's why they're on different dates, because we were in each other's. Anyway. So when the whole announcement period was happening, I started feeling an anxiety that wasn't going away. A few years earlier, when I was in Norway, I had experienced depression, but it was explained out as the whole light thing. In Norway, you go through almost 18 hours of darkness, and then it flips to the other side. And that, for somebody who lives in the equator where you have equal light and darkness, can really mess up your cycle. So I'd experienced a bit of it then, which, was generally managed easily. But then this time now I started feeling an anxiety that just wasn't going away. And so I was like, okay, something is not right. And then maybe a week or two later, I flipped to the other side completely. Sadness that's not going away, because I'm like, okay. But bearing in mind that it was post-election, I'm like, it's explainable. We've not been in such a period as a country.
Yeah.
But then as the chaos and then calm and then Kofi Annan and everything happened, that swing kept happening. And so I was like, hey, no, something's not right. So I went to see a doctor, a general practitioner. Explained, and he's like, oh, it sounds like stress, but it could be going towards whatever. It seems mild. So I just got some dawas, and for sure, for the next few weeks, I was okay. Then after a while, night came back more intense than ever before. Like can't get out of bed and that kind of thing. So now the specialist even just said, now you need to see a psychiatrist. Went, and so I was told, you have depression and anxiety, probably PTSD based, post-traumatic stress disorder. To date, I don't know what that PTSD event was. The suspicions was my mom's death when I was 16, or just things that happened. I don't particularly remember any traumatic events, or I downplay traumatic events. So never really gotten down to the root cause, but now just since then went into taking different cocktails of medications to just function.
Most of us just take different cocktails.
So that journey began. Went through several psychiatrists, because I think it's important to have chemistry with your psychiatrist.
Saying cocktails are involved.
So eventually ended up with a really cool guy. I don't know what your policy is about naming names, but
if you're happy with naming
a guy
names,
called Dr. Mutiso is really, really good.
Okay.
And based on if I'm always disciplined on that front, I will function okay. But I think, as you know, there are always swings of times when things can get done very well or not. how have I managed it? There are times when I'm completely don't have the energy, play with the kids, hang out with the family. So you'll find on a lot of those weekends, I am just asleep the entire day or something, just so that I can have enough energy to push through the next week.
That's even just to be alive.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah, so that's been my journey. It's something that now when I went down that journey, started learning a lot about just the whole mental health situation. As a result, I've ended up even supporting mental health organizations from both a strategy and whatever point of view, because I began to realize there's a lot of misinformation about what mental health challenges are. There are a lot of people today being told by their families, their spouses and everything, you're lazy, you don't want to work, you don't want to do anything. You're not being a man, you're not being, a woman, you're just taking advantage of us, you're manipulating us and all sorts of things. Yet the root cause of that behavior is actually a mental health challenge. And because the family doesn't know it,
it's a broken mind and you won't see it.
They don't know that that person has a problem, and they can't get the person help, and therefore it just ends up being a really, really
and it's
broken
already
situation. And then for people who now end up in mental health, they don't want to get help because the stigma around it is that if you have a mental health challenge, you have a big problem, you're weak, you're all these things. And so people also find it very hard. I have several common friends of ours who I know are struggling with one issue or another, but they've refused to go and see a psychiatrist because it's important to maintain that sense of control, that I'm in control of this thing. And up until now, I think there are a lot of people who will be very shocked to hear that that has been an issue for me since 2007, because everyone looks at me and they're like, you're killing it on every front. So they've not been privy
and it's true.
What's been
you're
happening.
killing it on every front. It's just that
in
you're
the
killing
background.
it on every front, despite.
Despite, yeah. But I was very. Acceptance is a very important ingredient. Just accepting that yes, there's a problem, and doing everything possible to learn about it and what it will take to manage it successfully, if it can be managed successfully, because there are certain spectrums that are really, really difficult to manage. Bipolar and those kinds of things. Schizophrenia, certain spectrums of it are very difficult. Autism, ADHD. There's 17 spectrums. Can you believe?
Okay, you
So just not accepting, and second, not empowering yourself with information makes a lot of people operate at a way lower frequency than they would if they just accepted the situation and dealt with it head on together with their families.
I want to talk. In fact, that's exactly what I wanted to go into, the family space. And I want, I can imagine what conversation. I mean, you're just a year in your first year.
Yes.
Of marriage, and you're now going through these mental health challenges, and your wife is like, "This is not what I signed up for." The guy I married was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or was he?
That's why they say before you say for better for worse.
Figure out. Do a psychiatric evaluation. As you do a financial one, also do a psychiatric evaluation of your spouse before you get married. But also, you've been on the other end as a family member supporting another family member with a mental health issue.
Yes.
And so I want to talk about that level, the level of empathy that you then start to, that you need to have. And maybe what are some of the things you can tell if you were to give like a starter kit for a starter kit for people with families that are dealing with mental health, what would you tell them?
Back to just the whole thing of first acceptance, even as a family, accepting that we have a problem. We have a medical issue that we are dealing with, because it's very interesting that if you have cancer. Everyone rallies around. Everyone excuses you from work, from your employers to your family members, to go and seek treatment. Everyone fundraises to help you deal with the issue because it's visible. It is, it has a brand around it that this is a problem. If you break your leg, same thing. Nobody expects you to run
or lift
something heavy. They'll push you in a wheelchair. They'll arrange for all these things to be done to sort you out. So the challenge with mental health is that it's invisible. It's a mind issue. And because until you experience it, it's very difficult to explain to somebody what's going on. It's very easy for people to then dismiss you as those things that I mentioned. You don't want to work, you're lazy, you're all these sorts of things. And so there are a lot of families today that just need to accept that they have someone in their family who has a problem, and they need to treat it the same way cancer, broken legs, malaria, COVID are treated, where you throw all your weight behind finding every possible. So people have flown to India or the US or Europe or South Africa to deal with all those sorts of other issues. But mental health issues are just taken so lightly. Nobody
Ain't nobody gonna fly you anywhere. Because you're crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody fundraises. Nobody. It's in fact what ends up happening with a lot of people is isolation, and I mean some of it ends up very tragically. I think we have common friends where 3 people committed suicide in a family because they were all dealing with that particular issue. And such things then end up happening. And even when the death happens, it's reported publicly as something else. So people don't... There's this kid who killed his entire family. For me, it's clear that was a mental health issue. Yeah. But the media reported it as kids are going crazy nowadays and they're killing parents. Evil. Yeah, he's evil. Yet had somebody just done their homework in that family, they would have realized this person's erratic behavior with X, Y, and Z, even the seclusion and stuff, could be signs of something else, and we need to get him help. So there's a large conversation that just needs to happen in this country. It's very interesting because I had one psychiatrist who was like, don't be fooled. A lot of these people you see even in leadership, of course, because of professionalism, they don't mention who it is, but they are like a lot of these people you're seeing on TV and whatever running around are my clients. So don't be fooled that this thing selects.
If you ever talk to him again, tell him we're not fooled. We know we can see it.
I say it's in high leadership where you're allowed to get away with it. But that's, I think an entire, not just national, but global, I think it's Oprah who keeps saying going to a therapist should be normalized. Like we should all be doing it, because the things that usually lead up to your mind breaking up is you've stored stuff, you have, you've done all these different things that end up building up until the system breaks. And then
I've only had one therapy session this year, and I'm already feeling those ninis of a junkie. Those my withdrawal symptoms of a junkie, because I've got stuff to let out, I want to process stuff. I just want to hear a different perspective. I want to be asked good questions that help me,
actually process. I think a lot of this is what drove me to be very, to rush to seek help. In different situations where it's very clear I don't have what it takes to sort me out. Because that entire journey really humbled me to the point that there are things that can happen where what I think is my superpower. I've always had a mind that is very... Okay, as a bright kid, let's just put it in plain English. And
they're brilliant, it's true.
And to have times when I can't use that, it's that thing where if that's what I define as my main thing, and then there are times I can't think, I can't concentrate, I can't do something, then it becomes a big issue. And I don't even know where I was going with that point.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but anyway, therapy. therapy is important. So I think what I was saying before that is that's why I'm now quick to seek help, because every time I've sought help, things turn around relatively quickly. And then I started asking myself, if this is a situation in a place where I've needed experts to help me with this, what about everything else in my life? Business, money, marriage, and also, so nowadays I'm very...
So you don't have to fix it yourself.
Yeah, that because I was humbled across the board nowadays. I'm happy, easy. I surprise my staff sometimes when they ask something. I'm like, I don't know. Then they look at me like, you're the CEO, you're supposed to. I'm like, no, I don't know. I'll go and research, but you have equal capability to do the same.
I mean, I will Google the same pages you could have.
That you could have.
Yeah.
So why don't we do that, and then we find a solution for this? If I don't know, I don't know. I am not ashamed anymore to admit, even in public spaces, when I feel I don't know something. If I feel I'm a guru in something, I will. I mean, I'll let you have it. I'll give it to you. Served very well.
Don't I know it?
Yeah. But if I don't feel I'm, good at something, then nowadays I'm just happy and willing to admit that and run with it.
Thank you for sharing that, by the way. Thank you for sharing about your mental health journey. I don't know if I should ask the next one. In a conversation we had last week, you were saying about how you've reached a place you don't care. Not don't care. But there's a sense of freedom that comes with maybe a stage of life, and I mean that, and I'm sniffing it. I can sniff that stage of freedom. So I'll tell you something, and then maybe tell me how you think I should deal with it, or if you relate. I am pissed off with one of my parents. Completely. Like any, pissed off. And I feel guilty for being pissed off because they're my parent. Yet, I feel like some decisions that they've made could have been made differently. And I find myself at this stage where I want to respect and honor my folks, but I also want to tell them the truth, my truth. And that right there is a major conflict. If you were in my shoes, what would you do?
I was just about to say that because as soon as you started talking is when I think I started processing, and it was coming clear to me that the context of that conversation we were having last week was that I turned 40 last year. And
I'm turning 40 this year.
You're turning
Guys,
40
wait
this
for
year.
the bash of the year.
Yeah. Can I, I'm redoing mine, so can we just do it together?
Oh, you'd love my concept for my bash this year.
It was COVID 100%, so we were not able to do the big bash.
We can do it together.
But anyway.
Can you see this thing?
Yeah.
It's part of the... Do you remember when you used to write songs?
Yes.
When you wrote songs for concerts?
Is this time for me to revive my career in singing?
But this is it.
Yeah, okay.
I've started playing that thing.
Cool stuff.
Again. Cool. And it's part of the 40th birthday.
Okay.
But anyway.
Now I have a DJ set at home. Anyway.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
As I got close to that 40, I started to realize it's almost like an existential realization that time is running out. And then you just get to the place where many things that you'd have bottled, because time is running out, you now just start to put it as it is. And so I found myself in very honest, candid conversations, whether it was marriage or at work or whatever it is, where I would say something and I see people looking at me for, did you just state that as plainly as we were all thinking but not having the courage to say? And that's why I would even get to places where I say I don't know, because I don't know. I don't know. I don't need to hide the fact that I don't know. Like it's faster if you know that I don't know, so that you don't expect me to give you an answer.
And I don't gauge myself anymore by the ability to know everything.
Ability to know or to be held to those other people's opinions.
Yeah.
But that said, I still think that there's some issues that are deep, especially the ones when it comes to parents or childhood friends or issues or relationship issues that went very deep. I think in scenarios where things go deep into the root of your emotions, I don't think they're as easy. Because as you have issues with one parent, I only have one living parent. I mentioned my mom passed away. And over the last years, there's also been just confronting certain issues about the fact that I didn't grow up with my dad around. He was in the house. He just traveled a lot. Which is something that I started doing very early in my life. You remember when we were housemates, I was traveling a lot even when I was in university with Isaac. And I think some of that absence and other things that happened around their marriage left me bitter and pained. And then my mom passed on, and then I was left with my dad. And those years were very rocky. Where it was just the two of us, because my siblings had moved to the US, which was also another issue of why is the family split up and that kind of stuff. So I don't know that it's easy, even at 40, to go back and deal with those issues
and ask those questions.
You could also ask those questions and then also get answers that you're not happy with.
I'm very aware that confronting does not mean getting the outcome that you're looking for. Yeah.
And then also I've had people who've tried confronting, and their parents belittled the issue so much they regretted ever raising it in the first place.
Or you're gaslit.
Yeah.
You become the problem.
Yeah, you become the problem.
It is turned around. And let me tell you, folks who had children in the 70s and 80s, they have that skill. It is well perfected.
Yeah, so I think the journey to total healing sometimes is lifelong. I have heard of a story of one guy, and this was a very elaborate story, whose dad passed on, and he was in his 50s, and then suddenly he starts dressing up in bright colors, wearing chains, I think goes and buys a sports car and all sorts of things. And his family is wondering what's going on. So it turns out that the dad was very strict and didn't allow him to do all those things when he was young. So even in his 50, when the dad chips,
like, finally,
his youth comes back. He's like, finally, I can do a 50-something-year-old man.
I'm about to start making some youth decisions now.
So some of these things are so deeply embedded, you don't know what would happen if that healing comes or never comes, because there's also the chance that it will never come, but the person is gone at some point anyway. And then you have to confront certain issues. I've heard of spouses who've now decided to do what they really always wanted to do in life once their husband dies or they get divorced, because they felt constrained in that relationship to do certain things. You hear of our moms who go to the US and suddenly they're wearing hot pants and stuff and would never have been caught in a dress shorter than the shoe. Yeah. So I think there are many things that happen to us that build pain, where emotions get stuffed somewhere in a corner and then get so muddled up that you don't even know what you're dealing. That's why we have psychologists and psychiatrists to help peel the onions and unravel those issues.
Dr. Oscar, one of my friends, psychologist, calls it the pain bank, where you've collected so much pain, and now at some point when the bank overflows, what now people experience as you is the experience of your pain.
Yes. And that's why you even have many situations where people do things that they never expected would come from them in a situation. Say you saw your parents being violent and then you end up being violent, and you had sworn your entire life
you'd never be like
be like your dad, or and then it comes out. So where does that come from? And then the person you're with is also very shocked and all sorts of things. And to the outside world, there's no way you could ever justify that situation happening. But that's the danger of building things up where they end up coming out in a scenario that I occasionally see. Situations of someone you grew up with, and then all of a sudden they've just changed. They've become angry. They've become all these sorts of things where everyone is just like, what's going on? But it's an unraveling of all those things that had been built up or bottled up. So some express it outwards, others go into a cocoon, others go into alcohol.
An explosion or an
or an
implosion.
Yeah. So all these things we're talking about are in all those spectrums we're talking about where the mind is living and active and needs to be managed. So things like stress, pain, and the like need to be continuously managed. And that's why, even in the world we are in today, we are told to be careful with our sons, because some of the things we were told growing up, be a man, don't cry, why are you crying, are led to
They're toxic.
those situations where we didn't express, we didn't deal, and those things just sat there and then they come out.
And then me, when I learned, and I thought infidelity killed my marriage, she later told me, no, it was lovelessness. I'm like, excuse me? Have you met a man? The reputation out here is that I'm a lover boy. What? But it was that lack of expression of emotions because narrative. You see, we have not even scratched the surface of the things that I want to discuss with you, and
I know
our time is running out. But I want to ask a couple of questions, if you'll allow me, and maybe just to bring you back to your area of expertise. I'm suffering as an entrepreneur. 2 years ago, I shifted from marketing myself as a communication expert, and not because I lost the skill, it's just that because I didn't want to build an agency again, a communication agency, which is the model that makes money for communicators. One-off consulting, you'll make some money, but it's like a salo. If you want to be able to handle multiple clientele, then you build an agency.
You have to have an agency,
I don't want to build that anymore. I'd started podcasting. I saw a certain set of skills that could translate. So I got into speaking, to the speaking circuit. And so started making money as a speaker, especially guys speaking to men in corporates, creating spaces where men can feel safe to express themselves and to have these conversations, candid conversations as guys that would not necessarily have, if there was a chick around, and I created a product around that. And let's call 2019 Build Year, where I was, trying, experimenting. And I know you've said this to me before. It takes that J curve takes 7 years in Kenya, where everywhere else it takes 2 to 3 years. But last year, at the beginning, I felt like this was really taking off, And at some point, I had 3-4 speaking engagements in a month, sometimes more. Okay? And that's within the first 3 months of last year. My emceeing skills, my interviewing skills, which make me a great moderator for a panel. Those are the things. I want to have conversations. In fact, if I could have conversations as a job, that's what I want to do. In the format that I had these things, COVID killed it. Entirely. And I, who is usually very innovative, have been unable to pivot that side of my business. I don't know how to pivot it. Now, I suspect there's people in other industries that have been unable, and especially people who are in the middle of their innovation, and their innovation was interrupted. You understand? They're not in the status quo. You're not a traditional bank that was interrupted by COVID, and you're like, what do you do? That's different. I'm sure there's a certain set of entrepreneurs who are in the middle of their innovation, or at the beginning of their innovation, and that innovation has been interrupted. And bro, I'm at my wit's end trying to figure out the next move.
Yeah.
Go. No pressure, but go.
I've found that a lot of businesses fail because people define their abilities to create value based on an industry. That's I know it's a very deep statement.
Not too deep for me to understand,
Okay.
and I want to challenge it
So
for myself. But
so
continue.
you'd find that people define themselves of I'm a lawyer, I'm a marketer, I'm a communications expert, I'm a brand expert, I'm a manufacturer. And the problem with defining yourself based on an industry or the name given to the expression of what you do is that you then end up being stuck to the model of how those industries operate. So if you consider yourself being in the communication industry, you think that the best way I can create value is through building an agency, because that's a model you see that's working out there. Newsflash, not necessarily.
I hear you.
The bigger problem, the bigger question you need to ask yourself is, what problem am I solving for people with my capabilities? Because sometimes in solving the problem, you'd find that you have capabilities that are even in different industries, but you're afraid of lumping them up together because legal and communication have never been defined together. So you could be the best legal podcaster or entertainment show in the country, but because lawyers run legal firms and entertainers run entertainment firms, you never see a point of converging the two. The framework of putting structure on what you do, I guess, is where the challenge of building a business is. I even told you last week when we met, what I see at the core of everything that you do is communication. I don't think I've ever seen you do anything outside communication.
I don't think I have, but every job I've done has
had a communication element.
Yeah, and a strong one.
Yeah. And so it's probably that your core capability, and yet I would not box you into just having one. It's probably that your core capabilities around something to do with communication, because you've changed models, you've changed platforms, you've changed mediums, but you continue to communicate.
Yeah.
So if you looked at yourself fundamentally as a communicator and kept asking yourself, where are the channels of expressing this, you might have less of a problem thinking that you need to structure it to look like an agency for it to work.
Okay. We shall continue that conversation.
I'll give you a very quick example.
Okay.
There's a band called Linkin Park. And there's an entire case study in Harvard based on these guys.
Oh, really?
Because they started out as a band and they went around singing and doing albums and building this audience. And then they realized at some point they could actually count that they probably have like 1 million followers then, like people who'd come to their concerts, and like if you aggregated it. And they started asking themselves, we have all these people we influence, what more can we do with them? And they've built a communication agency for reaching that specific target audience.
Oh,
So anything they consume, they go back, they do research, and they're like, these guys consume this, that, and the other. They go to a company that produces that and says, we have a captive audience. Use our agency to tailor it in Linkin Park language for our people. They've set up an investment firm that invests in stuff that their audience consumes. They've set up, so they took the concept of, we've built something based on music and a following, but what more do these people consume that we can offer them and they will accept? And so they've, I think, built this multifaceted, like 9-company outfit that just takes their following and their music and keeps creating concepts around that. That's the kind of stuff people need to do and break out of the shells of defining themselves based on one thing.
I feel like this is an appropriate place to end with these words. I've tried so hard and I got so far. But in the end,
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't even matter. I wanted to talk to you about partnerships. I wanted to talk to you about, because you've had experience in building partnerships. Your first partnership in Wild, the partnerships that you're building now in the Sandbox, and the lessons that you've learned from that process. I want to talk to you about, dreams beyond 40. What you thought you'd be now, and what you think you can be. You've joked about running for president.
Let me tell you, it's everyone around me who tells me I'm going to be president.
No, you said it once.
I said it once.
Yeah. When you were MCP for ISEC.
Yes, when I was president for ISEC.
Yeah. You did think you were going to make president for this country.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you questions around why you're very vocal and passionate about our political space and our political system, and I can see how maybe even PV, what you've said about mental health, and the anger that we feel as a citizenry, and how maybe the question for me is how the middle class can participate effectively in the discourse of where our country should be. I think there's so much stuff I want to discuss with you, and I've really run out of time.
I know. So we do this again?
So will you come back?
Yes.
Okay. Please come back.
So.
I promise to make you more coffee.
Yeah, based on that promise, I'm definitely coming back.
But thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for
this
your
was
time.
A good conversation.
Thank you for your convo, man, and thank you for your friendship, Joram. You've been a solid, steady friend. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you as a friend as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, you must check out the Sandbox. It's Sandbox, and that's I want you to go check out our website. It's sndbx.ke. Sandbox without the A.
Without the vowels.
Oh, without the vowels. That's all the vowels, yeah. Check them out. Meet the experts that they have. This could be really good for your business. If you're an SME, if you're an entrepreneur, and you're looking for support, you must check out sandbox.ke. And if you don't follow Joram, you're missing out. Your social media has nothing, especially on Facebook. Your social media is doing jack. Thank you, Mr. Mwinamo.
Thank you.
See you next week. Oh, wait. One more thing. Guys, please buy me a coffee. Please buy me a coffee. Please go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Amani and support the work for this podcast. Or if you're in Kenya, go to your M-Pesa, go to your till number, buy goods. It's 530-527 and buy me a coffee. Asante.